So LiDAR essentially is one tool we can use to measure or monitor our natural resources. And generally in the Forest Service and most natural resource management agencies, we have a few things we need to know about a resource to manage it well. And one thing is inventory. How much of it is out there, which is really pertinent to this conference? How much biomass is there? And maybe I can focus your efforts in harvesting it for energy and other topics that you've heard about today. So how much of it? Where is it? In some cases, the species is important. What species is it? And this do for us. So when we fly over, this is an aerial photograph of an area. We see different targets here. We see trees, we see structures, we see roads. And we can fly the LiDAR sensor over this area. We collect all the information from the pulse height. So the cool colors represent the lower elevations, if you will, and the warm colors up. So we can see the ground surface below in blue. We see structures. We see trees. So we're getting a full 3D sort of representation. And then we start to try to the study. There were fixed plots. They were about a 1/10 acre in size. Now, one key point to remember methodology is that we need really accurate plot locations. LiDAR data is super accurate. You can get accuracies sub-meter, sub-10 centimeter across a wide swath of landscape. So if you go out there and collect field data and you use a handheld GPS and you're within 10 meters, then you're looking at the wrong trees when you do relationships. So you need like a resource/survey grade, tripod GPS, dual phase, corrected, all that stuff. You want to be really careful with your locations. And you can probably relate to this. We don't want to just look at the large commercial species. We want to measure all the biomass because LiDAR samples all the biomass. It's not just looking at the commercial timber. And when we go out there to sample or create our field plots, we want to try and sample the variation across the landscape. So we're trying to build a model between the LiDAR data and all conditions on the landscape. So we're going to try and relate that to what we see in our field plot. So here's sort of a quick example. We sort of find our best predictors from the LiDAR. And so let's focus on biomass at the top. We see we have two predictors that help us build this equation. We have a mean height from each plot in the LiDAR data. So that makes sense. The average height of the vegetation contributes to more biomass if it's lower or higher. Then that P2 is a ratio, and it kind of represents a density of vegetation. So you think, okay, height and density, that makes sense. They predict biomass. So those are our two predictor values. And you can see there the nonlinear R squared, we're about 0.87, which is pretty good. So where biomass actually came out as the easiest one for us to model. And then you see basal area came out pretty good. Then you look down at the bottom, trees per hectare. For this methodology, that we weren't very successful. We R squared of like 0.2. So different parameters are sampled differently by LiDAR technology, and some of them make sense to model and some of them don't. What's so great about LiDAR technology is it samples every tree in your whole project area, every density, every height. So then we take the equation that we built from the plots, and we just take these grids in our GIS and we plug them into that equation. We just do math with these images. And what we do